Hi, everybody. Welcome to our brand of Quick Launch Live today, where we talk all about your data. I am Frank Data D. Lorenzo, excited to be with you here with you today. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a recap of what we've covered thus far in prior sessions. We're going to do a little kind of quick workshop together on self-servicing our reporting needs. And then a big reveal will be an announcement for our next LinkedIn Live. So if you're with us today, please put a one in the comments. If you have questions, certainly please put the questions in the comments. And if you've watched on demand, these LinkedIn Live recordings are on our LinkedIn company page for future use and viewing. Put a two. And if you want to dive into something further, put a three, or you know what, just reach out to any one of us. Again, these are 15 minutes long. There's no way we can cover anything very deep in 15 minutes, but our thought is our approach, our objective is to give you some good food for thought, some items to think about, some direction as you consider your own data driven journey and where you stand in that process. Good morning, Ben. Glad to have you here with us. So let's jump in and get started. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. One thing you'll notice if you watch these quick launch lives, I think we're getting better at the platform. So there's one good thing. All right. So we're going to go over what we've discussed thus far and explore why. Why all this? Why be data driven? What does it mean to you? What's the value to your business? Hello, Chase. Great to see you here. Hello, mystery LinkedIn user. Glad you're with us as well. All right. So, first, a recap of what we've discussed. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but just as a refresher, and if any of these topics kind of resonate with you, please go to the page and you can watch the recording or reach out. We're happy to share it with you or talk to you. Guess what? Live. Happy to do that. So, the very beginning, we talked about the value of a well laid out and developed data model. What does that afford you for building up your analytics solution, your data driven process off that foundation? We talked about the value of good data governance and security, especially we're bringing in data from the next bullet, other data sources. Think about that for a moment. I've got data maybe on-prem, I've got data in Azure, maybe data in a co-location, maybe some in AWS. So how do I manage and secure all this disparate data living in different places? So that's always a challenge. We moved to data visualizations. We had a great guest speaker, David Kenninger, who's an expert on the best practices and how you lay out data visualizations and which visualizations are best for telling what story. So David did a great job of taking us through that. We had our president, Adam Krieger, come on and talk about build versus buy. The basic premise there is time to value. You can build all of these. There's a lot of energetic and capable analysts out there that can develop a data model, but typically, to develop what we're discussing would take months, maybe into a year or 2 years. And that's reported back from our actual clients who've tried that. Where if you can buy, if you have the option to purchase something that's already been formatted for your environment, well, now you're talking, 6 to 10 weeks to get up and running. We did a specific case scenario around WIP, which is a construction process, work in process. I look forward to doing more specific case scenarios. Here's a problem a certain industry faces. How does better data management and reporting solve for that? We had the very capable Ben Harrison on, and we talked about reports versus dashboards. What's a dashboard? What's a report? Because in Power BI, a report can have many pages and display different um, components of information and data. What is a dashboard? You think of a dashboard as the overarching view of how we're doing, your true dashboard. So maybe cash flow, aging, cash on hand, operations, material on hand for purchasing and inventory, and then click on one of those dashboards to dive into that report. And then in a well governed data model, dive down to the details. We talked about Excel. Everybody uses Excel. If I ask that, it's almost a joke. Anybody use Excel these days? All hands go up, sometimes two, and a couple of chuckles along the way. But how we're using Excel can be vastly improved. When you're managing your data in one governed data model, think of it like your corporate data library. Now, what does that afford me in the use of Excel to do what it does best? What if scenarios, slice and dice data certain ways. But if I'm doing it as a manual extract in a separate process, that can be problematic. So we talked about that. Then we had the wonderfully talented Paula Fredrickson on, who spoke to us for a couple of sessions on best practices for training. What do success measures look like? And we often talk about product. Here's a solution. Here's what it can do. Sometimes we fail to recognize the equal importance of getting trained properly and getting that solution implemented properly. So Paula did a great job there. Again, reach out if you want to talk about anything on this list further. But why, again, why do this? And when we look at a data driven journey, to put some kind of visual, if you will, to that, we start with traditional reporting. For about 30 years, I used to implement ERPs in the construction space, just over 700 of them. And I'm still alive to talk about it. That's a good thing. But point is, when we start with the ERP, we're typically relying on the original ERP reporting that's provided by the vendor, and we have some limited capability to maybe create our own reports, but we're looking at data in a 2D row column format, and that's how we're managing our operations. Then we move up to improved reporting. We're using some additional tools like paginated reports, crystal reports, Excel, and then we move up the chain to data visualization. And then the final stage. So this is where many folks are here, stage one and moving to stage two. The real tech leaders are in stage three, and that's the way we see the industry moving, frankly, where you're leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence to do what you'd like to do. Another way to look at that, ERP to Excel, export third-party reports, or we start creating Power BI reports. But each time we create our own report, it's a separate data set. So now we're managing one-for-one report for data set, not optimal. And then automating the process, instead of manual exports and extracts, we might use APIs or SQL queries to pull data. And maybe we've improved our modeling where I've got one per module, but still not optimal. Better. And then the final stage, having one data model supporting data from all our modules and all of our other data sources. Another way to look at it, from ERP, I have Salesforce as a CRM example, or other data, we export to Excel. Excel was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now it's data visualizations. So we're making improvements, but we're not quite there yet. The idea is to get all of my data coming in, my corporate data that's important to run my operations, from our ERP and other data sources into a transformed data model. Keep in mind, data here optimized for transactional processing, data here optimized for reporting. I have to change a measure or calculation, want to add something, do it once, and it's going to propagate out to the various tools that call it. Better use of Excel, Power BI, SSRS. And then I used these last time, folks, full admission, but I just love these slides. Credit Adam Krieger for putting them together. What does your golf score and Power BI data sets have in common? You want the number to be as low as possible. So this is my example I said earlier. One report, one data model per report. So if I have 6 in GL, I have 6. Well, we can make improvements like lowering our cholesterol score. Now I've got one data cube per module. I'm going to explain the value of that in a moment. And this is the final what we're shooting for, where everything's in one cube, or other words, looks kind of like this. So in one data model now, I've got all my dimensions that I might want to slice my data by: company, business unit, calendar. I've got my modules, and this can be other data sources as well. And then what do I need to measure as of agings, month to date, quarter to date? But let's take a quick peek. I see I'm talking myself right out of time. I tend to do that. All right, so I've opened up a Power BI report. Now, in this report, we got some cool things, and this is a report with multiple pages. So you see how I can be looking at data visually. I've got some KPIs, some cost revenues. I've got a slicer here, be able to look at it by year or financial period. I've got some various other pages. I won't go into a lot of detail on these, but different charts that are charts or graphs that are meant to highlight a certain part of the story. If I'm into geography, a good data model is going to have meta tags in there for any address information, job site location, company location, so I can visually on a geographic map view my data. But what does it all mean? Well, let's come here. I have left myself, it looks like 4 to 5 minutes. Let's see what kind of damage I can do in that time. So I've got a blank screen and I'm ready to create my masterpiece. Again, I've said this before, but just to reiterate, full disclosure, I am not a report writer and I am not in the IT side of things. I am on the business side of things, grew up more on the project management and financial accounting side of the house. So I know what data I need to do my job. I just don't know how to do all the formulas to get there. Well, with a well practiced data model, I shouldn't need to. So let's say here, for example, I just want to put a card. And in that card, I would like to see maybe what my profit percent is job to date as a company as a whole. So I see that. All right, pretty cool. Let's say next to that, I want to do a KPI, key performance indicator. And that one, I'd like it to be in there. You can see the grids help snap it into place. Maybe I want to see my actual job to date profit, and I want to see that compared to my estimated remaining profit. And the time element, calendar overlays all of this that I'm curious about is year to date over the year. So now I can see pretty quickly 16 million. I'm in the green because my goal is 2 million and I'm up 550.19%. Pretty nice. Now let's keep going. I've left myself about 2 minutes. Oh boy, I feel the pressure. Let's say here, I want to come in and I would like to look at, not my calendar, but I want to look at actual costs next to my actual billings. Now that's for the whole company. That's great. I need to slice it and dice it a little bit. So I'm going to come to a business unit and I'm going to say I'm going to look at that by unit and description. So now I see a little bit more. I don't like that on the right. That's not where I want that. Let's move that. See how I can do that. Moved it one. And now I've got it here. But now I'm stuck. I want to bring in data from another module. I want to see my open AR and AP, but I don't see that on the list. But voila. If I say view hidden, this is all one big happy cube. Now I've got all my other data sources. This is awesome. So I'm going to say to accounts payable, do me a favor and bring in my amount open and take me over to receivables, please. And I'll do the same. AR amount, current open. And now if we scroll this over, we'll see that I'm getting actual data that is correct because of how the model and the views have been transformed. So I don't have to do any formulas. I didn't have to go do a lookup if somewhere else. It's all right here. And then with the extra 30 seconds I have left, I think you've seen me do this before, but let's take on the challenge of a slicer, slicing data across multiple modules easily. So I put on a slicer, and here I want to do it by my fiscal period. I'm an accounting-minded sort, so I'm going to go to my calendar, my fiscal, and I'm just going to say, please give me year, then period as options. Okay, and as you've probably seen me done before, I do not like that layout. So may I format it, please? Yes, you may. I would like it to be horizontal. Much easier if I take it mobile. Then maybe I want to take that slicer, put it up here, kind of fit it in where I'd like it on my report. And then just notice if I click on a month, the data is responding. It's changing. So period 2, I had no AR, I had AP. I can come back. And then since I think I have 1 minute left, here's your bonus. I want to take this to my mobile device. So I go mobile layout. There's all the components. Where do I want them? Maybe I want that card up top. Maybe I want that KPI here. Just doing this quickly in the interest of time. And then I'm going to have this. I want a little more room here because I have more rows and columns. So I'll make this a little bigger on the phone. And then realize on the mobile app, it's responsive. I turn this landscape, it's going to look more like my desktop. And then I can put my slicer right down here. Format that a little bit better. And once I save it, that report is now on my phone. So took a little bit longer than I expected, about a minute, but hopefully that helped make sense. Now the reveal. So next week is Thanksgiving. As much as I want to do a LinkedIn Live and share some turkey and gravy with you, we will be taking that day off. So 2 weeks from today, we've got a fantastic customer, a controller who's been really using and diving into Power BI and has a real interesting story to share their experience of how they moved from ERP reporting, Excel, to data visualizations and what that has really given them. So look forward to that 2 weeks from today. Again, I'm Frank Data Di Lorenzo. Love this stuff way too much. Contact anybody at Preferred Strategies. We'd be happy to help because we are all about your data. Take care. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. Thanks for joining me today.